All right, I think we're live.
Hi.
I'm still trying to get. I've
You
got to
figured
still.
it out. We
I
got
know
it.
that's right. I think. Oh, there we go. Now we're gonna be live on Instagram. I had one more button to click. Okay, that should be good to go.
Awesome.
Hey, everybody. So super excited. This is you guys all know me, Dr. Cody Goldman, and I'm with Dr. Tiff Watson. Say hi.
Hey guys.
So, and I know I go by Dr. Cody a lot, so Dr. Tiff works perfect, right?
The two docs coming at
That's
you.
right. So, yes, that is super cool. So, um, Dr. Tiff and I are both incredibly passionate. She's just as much as I am about health, and I lean towards truly one of my biggest purposes on this planet is I want people to truly live an inspired life, an inspired, fulfilled life. And one of the number one things I have found is that unless you have health, you have nothing. And I've figured this piece of out. So we wanted to come together and really have some conversations surrounding health, and we can go through physical health, mental health, emotional health. We're gonna cover all of it.
All the
And
questions.
yes. So I'm glad you have on Dr. Schiff, and I'll be on her. We're gonna do this every other week. We're gonna rotate. So today we want to talk about understanding hormonal imbalances, and kind of our subtitle is the hidden culprit behind weight gain in your 40s. So, this is an important piece. I focus a lot on women who have eaten right. They exercise, sometimes even over exercising, and just can't get this stubborn weight off. So, why don't you just jump in and have this little conversation around this? Maybe open up with, what have you seen as far as hormonal imbalances? What happens, with in your 40s? What happens? Why do we start gaining weight? You want to dive into that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is it. I think it's the frustration too that people feel because they do feel like, hey, I'm not really eating any different. I'm still exercising consistently, but all of a sudden my body looks different and it's distributing body fat in different places and my clothes don't fit and all the things that and you step back and feel like I haven't changed anything. What's going on? And that is where I think those hormones are a very big piece of that puzzle for folks. And you can't see that it's happening. I think if you were eating different, if you weren't exercising and your life was more sedentary, those are very tangible things that you can pinpoint as this is causing me to gain weight or my body composition to change or my energy levels to shift. But 7 to 10 years premenopause for women, we're seeing downregulation of hormones or just disruption in the balance, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. And so I think we just have to be aware that even if we can't physically see and the lab work is still consistent, stuff is happening.
Mhm.
And estrogen is a primary piece of muscle maintenance and it helps with sleep and energy. So, like you said, I think it is a hidden culprit for
Yeah,
sure.
that
And
is
it's
true.
frustrating
Yeah.
because you can't stop it from happening. It's gonna
Yeah.
happen. The reality is. So, I mean, is that what you hear from clients as well? Just kind of this, I don't know what's going on. I'm trying all the things and
Mhm.
nothing's working.
Yeah, and I even changed our little subtitle to hidden weight gain in 30s and 40s because that's where I really notice that happens. What I tend to see is the people that find me, they've gone through Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, paleo, keto, fasting, macros, nutritionists, dietitians, and literally they might lose some weight and it comes right back.
Yeah.
And so, I from my perspective, I spent 17 years running a healthcare clinic, very large healthcare clinic, and I watched my patients. That's where I saw this. I was helping people. I've had people heal from diabetic conditions, cancers. I mean, all kinds of conditions. But I would see them go doing these weight loss programs, and what they told me they were doing, in my book, was very unhealthy.
Mm.
For the
Well,
most
or
part,
not
they're
sustainable potentially. I
yeah,
mean, whether it's
yeah.
healthy or not, it's like, is it so extreme you can't maintain it? And then what's the benefit? You know?
Yes, that's exactly unhealthy and not sustainable. Exactly. So that's why I even created the Fast 40 was I wanted to. I got fed up with people being told the wrong thing, and so I dug in. And I this wasn't something that I was originally passionate about was helping people lose weight. I just got fed up with people being told the wrong thing. And so we created a whole system of this. What I found was, so here's what I'm going to kind of drop on it. And we go back and forth in this, Dr. Tiff. I found that yes, hormones are going to change at certain ages. That's going to happen. But here's a big thing that I want to drop on everyone. Hormone changes are worse when your hormones have identified sugar as a fuel source. So this I haven't read in a book. I didn't figure out in school. And here, let me show you how I found this out. This is kind of cool to see this. So I started running the Fast 40, and I watched women, within 40 days, they're losing 15 to 30 pounds of fat. And that's not with a calorie deprivation. Like, they're doing a caloric balance. They're eating enough food when not starving themselves. So it's not muscle loss. By day 20, I'd start hearing women tell me, Dr. Goldman, my hot flashes are better. And I'm like, they are? Really? That's interesting. Dr. Goldman, my joints feel better. Dr. Goldman, I'm sleeping better. These are things that they previously blamed menopausal changes on. So from a standpoint of fuel, because stress and excess sugar cause a hormonal change at any age, that's what I figured out. So stress and excess sugar cause a hormonal change at any age, because I've literally seen this happen at 5 and 6 years old.
Oh,
not just 45. Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing is, when you do get frustrated and the weight gain is happening and you can't figure out how to get it off, what do you start doing? You start training more and harder and doing crazy HIIT classes and CrossFit and all the things, high stress exercise. And then you start dieting, going into calorie deficit. So calorie deficit is stress. High intensity training is stress, plus you're frustrated, so there's emotional stress. So in your attempt to get the weight off because you're frustrated and stressed, you then turn to more high stress behaviors. So then you get this perfect storm, I think, where you're already, the hormones are already changing by just natural transition. Then you're exacerbating it with cortisol levels and all the things. So yeah, I think to your point, just stepping back and saying, okay, like, let's just slow down, like, come back to square one. Let's just reset some things and purge the pantry, so to speak. So yeah, I think we both see that. I see that many women that are training 5, 6, 7 days a week, and they are just trying to add more movement to offset the nutrition. And then it's just creating a perfect storm. So
yeah, great point. Great point. I think that's a big one, because most of the women I work with, they're not coming to me like, 200 pounds overweight. A lot of patients, most of the patients I work with are high powered. Some of them are entrepreneurs. They're very active. They even eat right. That's the majority. But they've still got 10, 20, 30 pounds on them that they can't get off. And so, yes, you mentioned about cortisol. So we can talk about cortisol. I also want to mention that the hormones, when I'm mentioning about being a sugar burner or a fat burner, specifically I'm referencing leptin and ghrelin. And leptin and ghrelin are you could say your full hormones or your hunger hormones, so to speak. And so what I found was throughout someone's life, with increased stressors, a lot of times with increased stressors comes sugar consumption.
absolutely.
So, you know what I mean? Like, let's just say you're like, I'm in a terrible relationship.
Emotional eating. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to drink more wine. Wine in my book, right, equals sugar. Or so we'll talk a little bit about that. But what happens is leptin and ghrelin, I've noticed it's like a flip of a switch. We're born, our brain and body. There's a reason that fat has 9 calories per gram. And I've thought about this a lot. I've actually seen references in different religious texts about sacrificing, like sacrificial lamb, but it's the fat they're sacrificing. And they're referencing it because fat is such a potent fuel source. And when you burn fat, literally you have your brain, literally you have a higher IQ. When you burn fat, there's 9 calories per gram versus 4.
More caloric density, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I noticed this is that leptin and ghrelin had the capacity to have you tap into fat stores. When someone goes through so much stress, they and or sugar consumption, there's like a switch. I've noticed it literally switches over, and those hormones look now for sugar. So it's almost like our body becomes efficient at what we give a lot of it. And at least in America, you know this stuff. You've got to look at nutrition labels because everything is just dumped full of sugar, and now they're coming up with different names for sugar. So just to reference that, because we've thrown out a few different hormones, but leptin and ghrelin are the ones that I love to reset for people. So the hunger mechanism is accurate, and their full mechanism is accurate. When we're burning sugar, I noticed it screws with your brain's ability to find out when you're full and hungry.
For sure. Well, and these new weight loss drugs they're changing those leptin and ghrelin signals as well. So like their whole basis is to go at those. Now they're going at them in a very wrong, long-term detrimental way. But the same thing is like those have to be efficient and accurate. And if you've had disordered eating behaviors, if you've had binge eating, if you've had calorie restriction, yo-yo dieting, every time you're doing all of those things, you're disrupting the brain to the body signals. And then to your point, you just can't accurately assess, am I eating enough? Am I not eating at the right times, the spacing and timing? And so that's where I think too, like meal structure comes into play, and making sure you're giving enough space between meals to just allow your body to get into that body fat utilization too.
Yeah, I love that. I love this is a topic I love to just chat about this a little bit, since you brought this up, is because a lot of people have been asking just about the GLP-1 receptors, drugs, and like Ozempic, Wegovy. There's a whole bunch of them. And by the way, just Dr. Tiff, would you tell everyone your background, not your background, but your credentials? Like, what's your degree in?
Sure. So my master's degree is actually in sports psychology. So I had a lot of time spent with working with athletes on just the mental training aspect of their performance, worked with executive groups and corporate wellness for a long time. And what I started to notice was the root cause of a lot of that mental distraction, the concentration, the focus, the anxiety, the pre-performance stress was due to the nutrition component. And so that's when I kind of shifted gears, went back and got my doctorate in health and human performance. And so that's the exercise science nutrition piece of what I do. I'm a certified strength and conditioning specialist as well. So I try to really help people. I don't do personal training. I did a long time ago, but I feel like a lot of dietitians and nutritionists don't have an exercise background.
Yeah.
And, if you can't match fuel with expenditure and understand what your body needs and the breakdown that's happening in the energy systems, you were just talking about carb utilization, fat utilization, right? If you don't understand those things, it's impossible to give somebody a healthy and accurate amount of nutrition to feed those systems. And so I've just loved being able to bring the psychology in, bring the nutrition, bring the exercise. It's just, they all have to communicate.
I love, we are so aligned. And the reason I asked that is because we have different backgrounds. I was a chiropractor originally. And what I found was what I learned in school about nutrition was terrible. I also found what medical school teaches about nutrition is terrible. So I want to say this. So I was an ex bodybuilder, a natural bodybuilder. So, and then I had to figure out on my own. So a lot of the stuff I've gone through and figured out on my own personally. I love doing things by myself. And then I work with patients. So I was seeing 325 patients a week for years. So a lot of my stuff comes from actually working with patients and real live results. So that's why when you guys listen to us, it's very fun because you're getting a real well-rounded perspective, not fueled by a pharmaceutical company paying someone, because that's what a lot of times happen. When was the last time, if you guys are watching this and listening to this, when was the last time you went to your doctor and said, could you help me eat better? Never.
Well, or you do, and they say 1,200 calories, start walking more.
Right.
And you're like, well, I've been doing that, or you do it and then you wreck your metabolism because you need to be eating way more than 1,200 calories.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you're like, okay, well, that'll work. So you go do that and it works again temporarily and you lose the weight. But then now you've got this metabolism that's in the tank and you can't sustain it.
Bingo.
So
Bingo.
frustrating. I get just
Exactly.
so
Exactly. So let's talk about, I want to talk about those, the Wegovy and Ozempic. And so, because this is a hot topic. So what I'll tell you what I'm seeing right now, there's 50 to 60 lawsuits filed per day in America because, for two reasons, well, there's a few reasons, but one is mainly because of gallbladders having to be removed. And then there's also really systemic bowel problems. And so what I've noticed, to simplify this, is that a lot of those injections, I've always been, just so you know this, Tiff, I spent, before becoming a chiropractor and during, I spent about 8 years teaching metaphysical courses on how the mind and body are connected. So, you know how you kind of went into the nutrition, you're like, oh my gosh, a lot of the root causes of nutrition. I literally started seeing a lot of the root causes from the mental side of things.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But
what cart before the horse, or
no, right. But here's the thing: so now I'm kind of looking at, like, I love helping people to fuel the physical nutrition and the mental nutrition both. Right. So so what happens with some of these injections is that it truly tricks your hormones into thinking that, number one, that you're full of food. And it does that by reducing signals and blood flow into your digestive tract.
Yep.
And when you have less blood flow, you got to understand that your digestive system works because you have blood flow in there. So lack of blood flow slows digestion. And so my sister is a nurse, and I started talking about this, and she said, do you know what we've had to add on she works for a colonoscopy clinic, and they've had to add on their questionnaire, are you taking one of these drugs? And the reason was because they're going in with a scope in people's intestines and finding undigested food. And what's happening is they're creating an ischemic bowel, meaning your bowel is not getting enough blood flow. So it's slowly dying. I mean, in one sense. And so that's what's happening. And so it tricks you into thinking you're full. And like you said, then what happens is, I literally have heard patients before they come to me go, I lost 10 pounds on Ozempic. And they told me they'd go out to dinner with their friends. They'd have a glass of wine, have a few bites of pasta, and they were full. And they were sort of prideful about it. Yeah, you can eat whatever you want and just take the injection. And most of them, what's happening is they're truly starting to tap into their muscle storages.
Yeah.
And they're becoming malnourished. So that's what I'm seeing with these, but love to get your take on it.
No, well, and you can see it. I think when you see people that have been taking it for a long time, like they just don't necessarily look like they're well nourished. They've lost weight, but again, they've lost a lot of muscle tissue because they are going unintentionally into a drastic calorie deficit. I mean, if you're not hungry and your stomach's staying full longer, because like you said, it slows gastric emptying, so your stomach is not emptying as regularly, so you feel fuller longer, not to mention hormonally you feel fuller longer. I think there's two parts to that, the hormone part and the physical fullness that you are feeling. Like you said, if you're not even digesting whole foods, and then if you're not digesting and breaking down, the nutrient absorption cannot happen. So you're not releasing and getting nutrients to the body, which is partially muscle. I'm concerned with bone density long term, because again, food feeds bone, food feeds muscle, food feeds digestion, food feeds emotion. I think we associate food and nutrition with just our physical body and weight, but if you're malnourished, your body's going to prioritize primary organs: heart beating, brain, lungs. So it's going to pull from emotional regulation. It's going to slow digestion. It's going to reduce muscle and bone density because it's trying to conserve energy to just keep you alive. And so that's my biggest concern with them is, like you said, the lawsuits, the class action suits that are already coming around. And secondly is just impact to metabolism long term. Like if you don't stay on it forever, I think it's just going to be like all those other processes you mentioned, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, paleo, Whole 30, all the things. It's like you're not changing behaviors. You're not learning how to feed your body. You're just stopping your body from functioning accurately. It's just,
Yes. Yeah.
it's a real bummer.
Yeah, and there's a singer. I don't listen to her, but her singer is her name is Avery. She's about 30 years old. I was happened to be on TikTok and social media the other night, and I saw this, this girl who was literally crying, and I was listening to her, and what happened, she said she's been taking Ozempic for a year, and she's now basically left with a deadly bone thinning disease. That's what she called it, which is osteoporosis or osteopenia. I don't know which one it was. And that was, so she's trying to warn everyone, hey guys, if you take this, and so, be careful. And so what you're saying is exactly accurate. I appreciate your perspective, Dr. Tiff, because, I've always been, and it feels like you are too, I want people to know how their body works.
Mm.
And here's what I found was that if I could go back and change our school system and in anatomy and biology, even starting in as a young age, I would teach people how freaking amazing their body is, because what I see that we teach people is that your body's not so amazing and it needs a lot of help pharmaceutically. It needs a lot of help. It doesn't, the power that made your body heals your body. And if you really knew how it worked, you would be in tears.
Yeah.
To know that you can eat food and it changes it into your bone and muscle is just magical.
Yeah.
So
It's well, and I'm teaching a course at Belmont University this year in the exercise science department, and we're talking about all the dimensions of wellness, but mostly physical. But we get to talk about all of those things. And of course, these are 18, 19-year-old kids who just feel like they're invincible right now physically. So it's like me trying to get them to really understand and want to hear it. But it's like, I feel like I can at least do my part in educating them before it becomes a concern. But you're right. I wish we had all had that when we were, young enough to really benefit from it before it becomes, again, you get to this 40 plus. And I think what I see is, man, if I had gotten that person 20 years ago and I
yeah,
had built a foundation for them of strength training and protein intake and macro, importance of carbs, not going low carb, not trying to diet your way to a certain weight, which means nothing, focus on body composition and fitness levels in those kind of metrics that after 35 and 40 or babies or hysterectomies or any number of things, it becomes so much harder.
yeah.
It's not impossible. I think change can be at any age, but it is harder. I mean, it's inevitably harder when you get older to make those big composition changes. So that's something
Exactly.
for sure.
That's true. And honestly, that's where, to me, that's where my fast 40 comes into place. That is like, we do a 40-day, literally like almost hormone reset, cortisol, testosterone, progesterone. And I don't give anyone hormones. I've never done that, because the moment you give someone hormones, giving someone hormones doesn't reset the hormones. Matter of fact, you start relying on someone's hormones, right? So I've never been a fan of that, right? It's like, how can I use what God already gave me, what the universe already gave me? And so yeah, we do see that's important. We kind of talk about that. Is I have people 30, 40, 50, 60, even their 70s in 40 days, we have a complete reset. And yes, they lose fat. And what they usually tell me is, oh my God, like, I feel like I'm 25. And what they're really saying is, like, what they're saying is, this is what I was intended to feel like. You weren't, and your body was not intended to break down as you age. It will change, but you weren't intended to be lazy. Fat isn't a part of getting old, but it is a part of when you see the combination of stress and sugars and not really understanding how your body works. So that's what I've seen is 100% it's changeable. And I love what you're saying is it'd be nice to be able to work with someone before then, because it is a little more extreme. And a lot of people see diet and exercise doesn't work after 30 and 40. Well, these are some of the reasons why that we're talking about. So yeah.
For sure. Well, and I think it's just like you said, you got to reset everything, and then you need a strategy to maintain it and to really understand, like,
Yeah.
okay, now that my things are
True.
reset, like we were talking earlier, is like, then I still need to understand
What
how
do I
much
do?
carb,
Yeah.
fat, protein I need and all those things.
You
But
do.
if you try to do that and everything's disrupted internally, none of that's going to be as successful. So you do have to kind of, it's like, I feel that way about supplements. People all the time send me supplement. Hey, what do you think about this? Or I found this new greens and protein, or this fiber supplement, or this pre-workout, and this, branch chain amino. Like, I'm like, hey, before you start taking all these supplements, like, let's start eating fruits and vegetables and getting like our food and our exercise established. Because it's not a band-aid. It's not like, oh, I'm going to go drive through fast food, eat at restaurants all week, but then I'm going to take this fiber supplement and life is going to be good. It's like, there's got to be a little bit more holistic change before supplements. And then they may be necessary. They're gap fillers. Like, if you're dialed in, you're really eating well, you're meal prepping, you're focused, you're training, you're all the things. And then there's still gaps in, I just can't get to calcium because I'm lactose intolerant, or I just can't get the fiber because I've got some IBS issues, or, whatever those things, then you might need supplementation, but it's not a band-aid to start with. You've got to get those other things established and then maybe look at the supplementation, in my opinion. So,
well, what you're saying is music to my ears, because that's what I really, in what I teach people is, number one is to eat real food. We never use prepackaged meals, not even shakes. Even I don't even have people even blending things for many reasons, but real food. I love to get people off of a lot of the supplements they're on. Because, I was going to say I was 22, I think, when I was bodybuilding, and it was all natural. I didn't use hormones, and I was using a lot of, I tried every supplement under the sun. I mean, it was just GNC, everything. And my gut was terrible.
yeah,
I felt horrible. And I was just starting to go into chiropractic school when I was doing this. And I literally was like, what happens if I got rid of it all? So what happens if I just eat food? What I found was my muscles grew better. I slept better. And it's funny because this seems like it's a secret right now. It's a secret.
I think it's just convenience, because people are just stretched thin, but you sacrifice quality for convenience every single time. If it's quick and easy and doesn't take work, it's not going to be as high quality. That goes everything you do. And so I think that getting people to just, and it doesn't have to be 100%. Like, some people just are not, and I'm one of those people. I don't shop all organic. I don't worry if it has dyes in it. I don't pay attention to every added sugar, but I am aware of it and I'm conscious, and I try as much as possible to not do those things. But if you're really struggling and frustrated and you do have some weight to lose, like, that is the easiest low-hanging fruit, is just start eating whole foods that don't have a massive ingredient list, and then just see how much better your body feels. I had this kid this week, we got him down to 10% body fat. He's 31. So he's like in his prime, all his hormones are just jiving, but he had come in and was like, I've gained all this weight. I have no idea what's happening. I'm training hard, lifting, doing my thing. And he brought in like this bag of supplements that he was taking, creatine and pre-workout and this. And somebody told him he should take magnesium and fish oil and all these things. And I was like, let's just get rid of all of this first. Like, I don't know what it is, and I don't know if it's any of these, but let's clean it all out. Just stop taking this stuff for like a couple weeks. And his weight, just body comp, weight, sleep, energy, skin looked better. I mean, just everything. But he thought, I'm frustrated. Maybe it's this, maybe it's this, maybe it's this. And then all of a sudden at 31, he's spending $200, $300 a month on all this stuff. And it was just making it all worse. So it's frustrating, because I don't think people they don't know what they don't know, but it's just, take it back to base level, Yeah.
Yep. Everything you're saying, I definitely back up. And that's unfortunate. It's like this secret now, because the supplement game, people think that like you're going to supplement, even proteins, like please go eat real food, get your protein from some chicken, from some steak. Like, you'll never replace it. So one of my slogans is that nutrition doesn't come from a bottle. And yes, I get, like, if you are eating the right diet and you are deficient in something, sure, we can talk about it then. But it's almost like the pharmaceutical commercials when they say, when diet and exercise doesn't work, try this.
Right.
Because guess what? Diet and
Diet and
exercise do
exercise
work.
works. That's right.
Yeah. You just may not want to freaking do it. And
That's
because it's more inconvenient to just take my nutrition in a bottle and think that I'm going to be healthy and wonder why I'm not.
yeah, you just have to
Yeah.
work so hard. The way I explain is if you do like a pre-made shake, Core Power, Muscle Milk, Premier Protein, whatever brand, versus even a protein powder
Mhm.
is better. Just you're not fighting that ingredient list. And then even better is eggs or some Greek
Right.
yogurt
Yeah.
or some chicken, but it's a spectrum. And it's like, let's try to stay over here as much as we can.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, you know, I
Yeah.
think maybe something to pick up with next time on the supplementation or things like
Yeah.
that. Just so many. I mean, we could talk about this forever for sure.
Yeah, that's true. And we'd love if you guys watching this, you're seeing it live or the replay. Please send us. I want to invite you. Send us some questions.
Yeah.
We're both Dr. Tiff and I are. We're like almost coming out of the closet. We're coming out of the closet of like we are here to. And this is my feeling with you, Tiff, too. Is I want people to know the truth. Your body is magical. And I'm tired of having people live with illness and disease that could have been prevented, and their doctor didn't tell them that. So I'm here to start telling you the truth. I want you to know how powerful your body is, and I'd love for you to end up not, in your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s on a bags of medications in a nursing home. That is not how it is meant to be. So please send us questions, anything you guys have regarding these topics, and yeah, I guess we'll wrap it up. We're going to come here once a week, once on my platform, then on yours. And so this was great. This is exciting to do.
I can geek out on this stuff. So I'm glad I found another geek to talk to.
That's right. That's right. Well, that's awesome. Okay. We'll see you guys next time.
All right. See you, Cody.
All right. Bye-bye.